luck to both of you. Touch them up, God bless.
It was the richest fight in boxing history. Floyd Mayweather pounded out a unanimous decision over Manny Pacquiao in a fight watched by millions around the world. The 12-round welterweight bout took place in Las Vegas. Mayweather earned at least $180 million for the win. Chris Iorfida was watching all the action. You're a senior writer with CBCNews.ca. He joins me now. Thanks for coming in to talk about this. This is a sport that really is just kind of either growing in popularity, or do you think it will...
Boxing is a niche sport, there's no doubt about that.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, here in Canada, it's a non-entity pretty much. Other than Quebec, there's a lot of great fighters in Quebec. But it's a global sport. And every once in a while in the United States and in North America, the spotlight in the sports world shines on boxing. This was the biggest fight, super fight, since at least Canada's Lennox Lewis taking on Mike Tyson in 2002. It was probably bigger than that. Obviously, the money says it was about the biggest ever. Some of those old fights you'd have to control for inflation. But it was definitely, it matched the two top pound-for-pound fighters so far this century. And they're also two of the biggest, you know, they'd have to be put in the top 10 as far as athletes over that time span in terms of earnings and just name recognition.
Did the hype live up to it?
Well, there was a lot of hype, and the demand was there. And in Vegas, you had everyone from Denzel to Tom Brady, Mark Wahlberg, Charlie Rose, Mary J. Blige, just an assortment of people. We heard reports of the pay-per-view orders in the States were tremendous, to the degree that there were
$100.
Technical difficulties. So. Yeah, the demand was there. If you were if you wanted to see technical brilliance, you saw it. If you wanted to see a suspenseful, intriguing fight, you saw it for about 6 or 7 rounds. I equated last night's fight to Roger Federer in a Grand Slam final, fighting playing a really good offensive opponent and just rendering him frustrated and ineffective.
Yeah, because Pacquiao really chased Mayweather around the ring for most of the bout.
He didn't feint enough, fake or duck. And so, but unfortunately for boxing, that kind of clinical performance, you got fans dipping in for the first time in a year, or first time in 5 or 10 years. You know, that might not excite them. But anybody, any respective boxing voice who told you before the fight this was going to be an all-out brawl, most of them said there will be sustained moments of action, cat and mouse, but don't expect, you know, blood and guts in this one.
Now, with the Mayweather win, he remains unbeaten in 48 fights. What do you think this did for his reputation? Because he doesn't have a very good reputation.
No, in the ring, it burnished his reputation. This is one of his, right up there with one of his best performances. But you saw why he's not a transcendent figure like Sugar Ray Leonard, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali. He doesn't get your blood boiling a lot. He just makes you does things that make you go, wow, that was impressive. I would put him in about 15 to 20th all-time on the all-time list. Partly things not his fault, just opposition, and partly his own style. Now, outside of the ring, you're right. Now, we have to mention, he had a tough upbringing. His father went to jail for selling drugs. His mother was addicted to drugs, and he's talked about how his father, who was also his trainer, was abusive at times. Unfortunately, he hasn't escaped that cycle of abuse.
Right.
He went to jail himself in 2012 for a couple of months. Domestic abuse charge involving the mother of 3 of his children. There were a couple of cases in years before that got pleaded down, and he ended up serving probation. So there were even calls, you know, people who weren't invested in the boxing industry to boycott this fight, or to, at the very least, you know, donate to, you know, a women's charity or shelter.
Right. So Mayweather says his next fight in September will be his last before retirement. Do you have any idea who he'll face off against?
I don't have a 100% sure idea, but there's 2 names that are kind of...
He'll want to win.
Yeah, that's important to him. The money's most important, but the undefeated records also. I think the 2 most likely names are Amir Khan from Britain. If they went to London, they could fill Wembley Stadium. Now, that might be a good option, because I'm not sure in the States if people are going to order the fight, so he might have to go sort of test out another market. He likes to fight in Las Vegas, though. Another potential name is Keith Thurman. He's an undefeated fighter, and he's a lot bigger than Pacquiao. He packs a pretty good punch. So that would be a pretty acceptable opponent for Mayweather. It wouldn't be, as opposed to just a gimme.
So last night's fight was the highest grossing boxing match in history. Do you think it's going to bring new fans, or is this just simply a one-off?
Well, yeah, first of all, gross is the key word. We're hearing these figures, 180 million, 120 million. The federal income tax rate in the States is 40%. Pay your promoter, your manager, your trainer. They each have not insignificant entourages, especially Pacquiao. So it'll be about half that. It's ridiculous money, but they're putting their lives on the line. Your second question, I don't think it'll change anything. You got the hardcore fans who will stay with the sport. Did it attract new fans? Probably not. Boxing's health is going to be determined whether it's on free TV, and in that regard, there's been some new contracts signed in the last year or so. Boxing lost a good chunk of a whole generation of fans because there were network TV contracts that lapsed in the 90s, and then the only way you could see fights were on premium cable or in the biggest fights pay-per-view. So, you know, you lose the 10-year-old kid there. Who's going to find that fight? But it's a global sport. I think that's what people here in Canada, it's not really big. In the States, even, two of the fastest growing population demographics are Hispanic and Asian. At the risk of painting with a broad brush, they're into boxing more than hockey. It's still going to be a niche sport, but it'll have pockets of areas where it's really popular.